Welcome back to Missy's Imaginings. Today, by the time I actually edit this, I will probably already be at the doll show, or it will have happened yesterday. But today I'm working on wigs that will be for that show. I had several cut out that I showed a while back, and before I get into actually sewing them, I did find a tip that might be helpful for you. The pattern is already on the website, and you can see the pieces on the free stuff page, and then you can print it out. The PDF file is free on the ready to print page. Shows all the pieces. What I found is when I'm putting these together, I was having a hard time making some of them fit. So I discovered that because there's a curve cut on the top of the side pieces, and you can see that it's round, there's a bias stretch that comes into play, and I was having trouble getting the pieces to actually fit end to end once I put the front and back pieces together at the top of the crown. Then putting the side in, one was having trouble fitting, and I think it was because I was sewing with this round side piece on the bottom and then matching this up, and I was coming up where the edges wouldn't match at the end. So I discovered, fun tip for you if you're doing wigs, if when you sew, especially if you're using a machine, if you start into the machine and always have this side rounded piece on the top, and you go ahead and get started and just take a little tack, go in about 1/2 inch to get it anchored in your machine, but then it allows you to kind of stretch that top curve as you go around and match those up, so you can make that end match. So that way you're getting the full length of the curve to go on the side of the head. If you don't do that, if you put that on the bottom, I found that it's hard to stretch the bias of this piece if it's on the bottom. You can't really grip it very well, and then it ends up that this piece is hanging off with way too much length, and then it would be crooked, and this gets kind of bunched up, which makes the side not big enough to cover the side of the doll's head. So just a quick tip before you get started on making these, especially if you're using a machine, just to have this piece on the top, and that way it'll fit together. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll move the camera and we'll go around all the pieces. I'm putting together a black with red tips, a red, and 2 white wigs and 1 pink wig. So I'm doing a lot of wigs today. So I'll go ahead and speed up the camera and get through those. Once they're all put together, then I will go ahead and measure elastic to go around the doll's head. I'll measure around Rain's head because he has kind of the biggest head. That way it'll fit a bigger doll, and the elastic will shrink down so it can fit smaller headed dolls. But I'll measure his head, and then I'll cut the elastic about 1/2 inch shorter, and then I'll actually overlap the elastic 1/2 inch. So that way when you get the wig put together, it'll kind of shrink a little bit and be tight, and then it'll stretch around the doll's head, and it'll have that squeeze around there to keep the wig on. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just putting wigs together with furred fabric, and so you can come along and then get some ideas maybe so you can make some of your wigs. Alright, I'll see you at the sewing machine.
And at any given time, one of us could ask the other, "What's that?" and point at an animal. And the rule is you have to give a completely wrong answer, a completely incorrect answer to what it actually is. And if you take too long, you lose. So like, we could be walking and, you know, there could be a tiger. You'd be like, "What's that?" And you would have to be like, "Oh, that's the rare orange zebra," like the quad zebra. Like you would have to give something that's completely inaccurate.
Oh, well, there we go.
I feel like that could be really fun.
Yes,
We could do a little video of it and I'll put it on my channel.
Okay.
Yeah, what's that? A kangaroo.
It's going to be on Maddie's channel. The Magnificent Maddie.
I was talking right into the speaker too, like I was right here. Look forward to that. Wait, did I mess up? Okay, you're still in focus.
Okay, so I got the wigs done, and I thought I would go ahead and show you what they look like. So Rain here is bald, obviously, and wearing the yukata set and the, I don't know what these are called, but he's wearing them, and his boots, but he has no hair. So I thought it'd be fun to put the wigs on so you could see how they're going to look. So if I can get him to sit here, there, and he'll match my sweatshirt. So there we go. So I have 2 wigs done that are the red color. Let's see, and I got the elastic inside, and I also put in these little tags so you know which is the back, which is the front. So this is what the red one looks like. There you go. So you can see. So here's the red ones. So I have 2 of those, and I made 2 of the purple ones. So let's see. Here's purple, find the tag. And I'm pleased that they fit really well. Some of them I actually put the elastic on him to fit it and sew it on. And then some of them I used, is it a Kaji doll band head that I have, an extra head, which is actually bigger than his head. So some of them I fit on his to do the elastic, and that way I know it would fit Rain too, because Band's head is bigger. So here's the purple. So there's a purple one. Another black, like the one that he usually wears. So here's the black, which is what he usually has on. So I have 2 black done. I have a yellow one done, which I think might end up going to a doll that I want to turn into Naruto, just because, you know, it's yellow. So here's yellow. I'm not looking at what he looks like. There, yeah. So here's the yellow one, and the pink one turned out good. Of course, I love pink. So let's see. All right, we'll see how he looks in pink. And they go on, they fit, the elastic goes around his ears really well, and so I like him in pink. I like it with the color of his eye, and the shadowing around his eye. The pink looks good. So here's, And then in the back, this is kind of what they look like. So there's still fur that goes down on the neck. And if you would like them to be longer, I had an idea that you could actually cut a little wedge of the fur fabric so that the fur goes towards the rounded edge, and take that straight edge and actually sew it in to give just, oh, maybe like a quarter's width. Is that like an inch? And then that would actually take the fur down longer if you wanted it longer in the back. Might look a little bit like a mullet, but it would add length to the hair in the back. Then the black with the red tips, which is fun because when you spike it up, then the tips are all red, which is kind of fun. Get it out of his face. So there's the black with the red tips. I have one of those done. I don't know why I only did one. And then I have two of the white wigs done. So here they are. So there we go. And that looks good, of course, because he has white on his face already, on his face markings. So there we go. So here's his white wig. So I just like him in every color. I'm partial to the black, white, and pink, obviously for him, just because the colors look better. But there's the wigs that I got done. So if you want to go ahead and try one. Also, if you think you'd like it to fit a little looser, instead of taking a 1/4 inch seam around the outside and on the scalp, you can just do like an 1/8 of an inch seam. The fur fabrics, they don't ravel really bad, so you could go with that smaller seam. I would recommend just whip stitching around those edges if you make a seam allowance that small. I've done that in the past. I think on the yellow one I actually hand sewed, and so they're very, very small seams, and I just whip stitched around those to put them together, and so it's a lot less of a seam allowance that shows, and it gives you more space inside the wig. From the photos that I put in the video, what I mean when I say I fit the elastic on his head is I will actually have the wig, and once it's done, but I haven't done the elastic yet, I actually turn them inside out and put them on a doll's head inside out, and then I sew the ends of the elastic together and I wrap it around there, and then I actually sew that elastic onto the wig while it's on his head, and that keeps the wig stretched to its maximum width, and then the elastic is also stretched so that you're not getting any buckles in your fabric. So that way, of course, when you take it off, then it scrunches back up and it's ready to be stretched in order to fit. So anyhow, that's how I put wigs together, and so you can have fun trying that. A big thank you to everyone who came out to the doll show yesterday. It was a really good show. It was so fun to meet collectors and see collectors that I already knew and have them come back to the table. And one of my friends came that I met 3 years ago, so hi Marie. And she came and we got to visit, so that was really fun. And I appreciated the company. It was fun. And just, yeah, to chat with people and have a good time. And one of my dolls found a new home, so I was excited about that. So she found someone to love her and take care of her. And yeah, so it was a good show, a good day yesterday. So now I wanted to finish up this video if you're going to make wigs, and so you can get everybody's top notches all looking groovy and have some fun. So yeah, I have lots of wigs. Some of these will probably go up on eBay. I may save them. I have another show coming up in January that will be up in Clackamas, Oregon. And so I may keep them for that show, and then once that show is finished, put some on eBay, or I might put a few on. I don't know. But anyway, so here, let's pick a color for him. Oh, we'll put the white one back on so we can end the video with some stylish fashion wigs here going on. There you go. So he can look very demure. So anyway, there we go. You've got lots of stuff to work on now if you want to make a wig. The pattern is, like I said, already on the website. And when you're putting those together, whatever your preference is what you could use for the seam allowance. So most of the ones I did just lately, I did the 1/4 inch seam allowance, but if you want more room, if your doll has a bigger head, you can just whip stitch those, or do a smaller seam allowance, and then it'll fit, give you lots of room inside. So there you go. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.